There are many useful properties of asymptotic notations. In that, one of the theorem is very important. Say you have a very big algorithm. Assume this. You have a very big algorithm which you have converted into a program, and we can classify this big program into two parts. We can classify this program into two parts. Say it is binary search. Let's say it is binary search, but the input what we wanted to give is unsorted array. So before we go for binary search, we have to sort the given array. So sorting is first part and searching is second part. Assume this. So in that case, T1 of n represents the complexity of first part of the algorithm. T2 of n represents the complexity of the second part of the program or algorithm. Assume this case. In such case, if T1 of n belongs to big O of G1 of n and T2 of n belongs to big O of G2 of n, then T1 of n plus T2 of n, the whole complexity of the complete algorithm, it belongs to big O of maximum of either G1 of n or G2 of n. This is what the theorem is telling. It is a very obvious thing. Say for example, assume we are having some natural real numbers. Say A1, A2, B1, B2. Assume this case. Say if A1 is less than or equal to B1 and A2 is less than or equal to B2, then A1 plus A2 will be less than or equal to the 2 into maximum of B1 comma B2. This is the obvious thing, right? So similarly, we can apply this theorem and we can prove this. So and this theorem will also apply for omega as well as theta. If we replace this big O by theta or omega, that will also work. Say when we say that T1 is less than or equal to big O of G1 of n, then T1 of n is less than or equal to C1 into G1 of n for all n greater than or n1 greater than or equal to n2. Sorry, n1. Right, and we are also saying that T2 of n belongs to big O of G2 of n. So T2 of n is less than or equal to C2 into G2 of n for n greater than or equal to n. Okay. Say if we consider some constant, say C3, which is C1 plus C2, something like that, then definitely T1 of n plus T2 of n will be less than or equal to T1 into G1 of n plus T2 into G2 of n. And if we consider this as a common, that is C3, we replace that by maximum of C1 and C2, that is C3. Then C3 into G1 of n plus C3 into G2 of n. So C3 we can take common, which is 2 into C1 or maximum of C1 or C2, then G1 plus G2. So this will be equal to 2 into C3 of maximum of G1 comma G2. If we replace this by some constant C, then the theorem is proved. It means that it belongs to big O of maximum of G1 of n comma G2 of n, which is simple, but it is very useful. It is very useful when you are having a very larger algorithm where there are two computational parts. Then we can consider the maximum which is consuming more amount of time that as the efficiency of the algorithm. This is what this theorem is telling. The second property is we can use the limits for finding the order of growth, because practically it is quite difficult to go with the normal way. Say if T of n is the complexity of the algorithm which we want to find out, and G of n is some standard function, then if we apply the limit for this ratio T of n and G of n as limit n tends to infinity, then if this value is equal to 0, if this value is equal to 0, then it implies that the order of growth of T of n is smaller than that of G of n. If it is equal to a constant, then it implies that the order of growth of T of n is equal to the order of growth of G of n. If it is infinity, the value of limit as n tends to infinity T of n by G of n, if it is equal to infinity, it implies that T of n is having higher order of growth or larger order of growth than that of G of n. This is very simple. Once we find the ratio, then we apply the limit as n tends to infinity. If the value is 0 or a constant or infinity, definitely we can say which order of growth it is, which asymptotic notations we can use for. See, if these two are the cases, then definitely we can say that T of n belongs to big O of G of n. If these two are the cases, then because it is higher order, then T of n belongs to big omega of G of n. If it is a constant, we can say that it is theta of T of n belongs to theta of G of n. We will take one example. Compare the order of growth of 1 by 2 into n minus 1 and n square. Compare the order of growth of these two functions. If this is the case, say this is T of n and this is G of n. Let us apply the limit for this. As the limit n tends to infinity, 1 by 2 into n minus 1 divided by n square. So this is equal to 1 by 2 is the constant, we can take it out. Then it is n square minus n divided by n square. Sorry, so I need to apply limit. Limit as n tends to infinity, n square minus n divided by n square. So this is equal to 1 by 2 limit as n tends to infinity. This is 1 minus 1 by n. Right? As if we apply limit kn is infinity, so 1 divided by infinity, so limit of 1 is 1. So we get the constant. So we can say that 1 by 2 n into n minus 1 belongs to theta of n square, because we have got the constant 1 by 2. I hope you are getting it. So this is the very important understanding we need to have. That is T of n by G of n as limit applies n tends to infinity. If it is 0, then T of n belongs to big O of G of n. If it is a constant, then it is T of n belongs to theta of G of n. If it is infinity, then T of n belongs to omega of G of n. Say when we are calculating this, we may need to use L'Hospital's rule. Sometime it may be required. Say for example, it is L'Hospital rule is as limit n tends to infinity, T of n by G of n is equal to limit as n tends to infinity, T dash of n, that is derivative of T of n, by G dash of n, that is derivative of g of n, or sometimes we may need to have use the formula for finding the factorial of n, that is root 2 pi n into n by ed whole raised to n. This may we need to use. Okay, this is how we can apply the limits for finding the order of growth of a function, which will give us the order of growth of basic operations algorithms, basic operations count. Thank you.